What's up, Thrashers, and welcome back once again to the Thrash Maniac 99 YouTube channel. And I am here with yet another album review, and this one pretty highly anticipated considering this is the first time I am reviewing one of their albums on this channel. I am talking about the latest offering from Gruesome, Silent Echoes. Also came out on June 6th, this time on Relapse Records, and this is the band's third studio full-length overall. Of course, I first heard of this band several years ago when I first heard the song A Waste of Life and Dimensions of Horror, and pretty much grew to understand pretty quickly this is a supergroup that pays homage to the band Death, which there are plenty of bands that do take influence from the band Death, but not really as prevalent as I feel they should be more influential. Well, I mean, they are arguably the most influential death metal band of all time, but you don't really hear too many of their aspects in a lot of modern death metal right now. But Gruesome do a really good job at paying homage to Death, but putting their own spin on what Chuck did all those years ago. And of course, in the lineup, you have, Robin Mason from Castrator, Durketta on bass. Well, she doesn't play on this album, but she is in the band. Gus Rios, formerly of Malevolent Creation, on drums. Daniel Gonzalez of Possessed on guitars, and guitars and vocals done by one Matt Harvey from Exhumed. So, pretty damn good roster of talent right there. And of course, I have both of their other albums as well as their Dimensions of Horror EP. So I figured with finally a new album out, first one in 7 years since Twisted Prayers, I think that was the name of the second album, and I was curious to hear how this was going to go, considering they were one to pay homage more to the album Human by Death. And also production-wise, we got Jared Pritchard from Eulogy and Pulchra Morti on the production table here this time around. And first things first I want to talk about is the production itself. It is old school as hell when it comes to the tones, the mix, everything. It just sounds old school. Even though the kick drums are a little bit up in the mix, I feel like they could have tweaked the mix of the kick drums down by just the tiniest meep. And I think the kick drums would have sounded even better than they already do. So I just wanted to touch on that real quick. The production was pretty damn strong. Now, song-wise, kicking things off with Condemned Identity, which starts off with this, beautiful, kind of proggy, clean melody, and it's one of the prettiest moments of the entire album. And then it immediately unleashes into thrashy rhythms and nasty tremolos, even some off-time grooves to kind of add a little bit more to the kind of more progressive stylings this album's going for, which again, paying homage to Human, and Human, more so than even Spiritual Healing, really pushed Death into more of a progressive death metal band. And I will say, for the most part, on almost every single song on the album, you get nasty, intense, thrashy rhythms with blazing fast double bass, great tremolo riffs that kind of vary between the old school death metal tremolos and even some bordering on tech death tremolos. I wouldn't quite call this a technical death metal album. I would say this is maybe a little more towards progressive death metal because of all the different riff shifts and also all the melodies coming in and all the harmonies too. That leads me to talking about the leads on this album. Lead work is absolutely impeccable on this album. Both Daniel and Matt do an amazing job trading off of one another and even harmonizing together. Almost every single song, you get amazing trade-offs. Now, who's better between the two? That's up for you to decide. I really don't know who's the better player between Matt and Daniel. I think they're both pretty equal, but the way they harmonize is just something to behold, and it definitely harkens back to the old days of Death with Chuck and whoever the other player would be, whether it be Rick Ross, James Murphy, Andy LaRocque, Paul Masvidal, Shannon Ham, it really don't matter. Like, he could harmonize with anybody. And in this case, Matt and Daniel harmonize wonderfully on a lot of these songs. And then we get into tracks like A Darkened Window, where there's not as much of the tremolo riff writing on here. This is going for a more machine gun attack when it comes down to the guitars. Even some like nasty double time stomps, which you could make the argument Death kind of pioneered that within death metal with Leprosy and even Scream Bloody Gore, where you get more of those double time rhythms that eventually bands like Bolt Thrower and Obituary would take the helm and push it forward, or push it further, I should say. But there's really cool groove on this track with the bass and the drums, and also some really cool legato tricks on the guitars. Even a breakdown, like probably one of the only breakdowns on the entire album, and it is nasty. Awesome syncopation as well. Now, Frailty, this one, there's a lot going on with this song. Like a fade-in legato riff into alternating between triplet chugs and off-time grooves. Of course, you get back to like the double-time rhythms. I do love how the tension builds in every pre-chorus on this track with the drums, the bass, and like some more atmospheric guitars coming along. But it does unleash into like nasty tremolos and thrashy rhythms. But I do love the more proggy harmonies on top of the triplet rhythm that shows up. And just, again, lead work, incredible. Shards starts off very much in a classic Death sense, like tremolos and thrashiness. But I really love the moments on this song where you get like tasteful drum work. Gus Rios, awesome performance on this album, like sweet drum accents on top of those like legato melodies. Even a lumbering gallop coming in pretty nicely. And then the title track where we kick off the second half, this one kind of gets a little bit more sinister and, dare I say, even heavier. Like the tremolo riffs on this track feel a little grittier and a little darker. I even get echoes of Slayer a little bit on this track, like some of the riffs and the rhythms made me think of Slayer a little bit, but it does shift to groove. You also get some really cool bass flurries, badass triplet chugs, and just chugs as a whole on this track. This song just hits you right over the face with chugs and riffs, but also great harmonies and tasty drums. And then we get to Voice Within the Void, Astral Oceans, the longest track of the album at little over 4 minutes 40 seconds. And it's an instrumental, and it's very much their version of Cosmic Sea. It starts off with like ambient synths to build up a mood, and then you get the fade-in drums and machine gun riffs coming in, and it just unleashes into like nasty riff work. Drums, awesome melodies, and even like bass melodies. Even a quick blast beat comes in as well. Clean melodies come back, lumbering gallops, triplet chugs. But on this track, you get a lot of great leads. Some come from Paul Masvidal, who of course played on Human, also from Cynic. He does a fantastic job gelling with Daniel and Matt. Fragments of Psyche. Cool legato melodies at the start, and then it gets into like an off-time gallop. But you also get tremolos with like little angular guitar changes. Also, one of the coolest moments about this track, the bass and the guitars kind of harmonize and create a really cool melody. But of course, really nasty groove. And then you get to the closer, Reason Denied, and this kind of brings us back a little bit to the vibes of the title track, where there's a little more heft on this song, but great triplet chugs that just are pummeling. Awesome cymbal accents at the beginning, and of course, tremolos and all-out speed. And I even like the riff changes on some of the groove patterns that come in here, just to kind of be like, hey, we're going to throw a curveball at you, and they stick the landing quite well on that change. And I also like how during the lead section, it slows down and it gets more melodic, which I really appreciate. So, songwriting-wise, they did a fantastic job not only paying homage to Human, but throwing in their own spin on it and kind of creating like what could have been Human Part 2 as opposed to going into individual thought patterns for Death. As far as any negatives go, I only have a few minor gripes, but they're very, very minor. That's not going to hurt the score at all. Of course, like I said, the kick drum could have been mixed down just the tiniest notch. And then I would also say when it comes to like the thrashy rhythms, it kind of sticks to like that rhythm, but with a lot of double bass. I would have loved to hear like single kick patterns, and even at certain points let that thrashy rhythm get even faster, kind of like to what they were doing on like Dimensions of Horror or their debut album Savage Land, like that speed, and make some of the sections feel a little faster, a little more aggressive. But that's really not much of a complaint. It's just a minor nitpick I have when it comes to like the speed of some of the rhythms. But overall, every song ripped, and they did a fantastic job. I'm gonna go ahead and give this a 4.5 as well. Man, my year-end list is going to be brutal to put together, and this is going to be one that will more than likely be on that list unless somehow everything else I hear after this blows us out of the water. But overall, this is an awesome album. If you love Death's Human, I think you're going to dig this album as well. This is a very good tribute to that, but of course, they put their own spin on it. But of course, those are just my opinions. What did you guys think? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. But until next time, thank you for watching, keep your horns high, and your dreams wet.